Fatherhood begins with collapse, whether you like it or not. We hear endlessly and rightfully about the impact of pregnancy and motherhood on women. Their transformations are visible, measurable, documented. They go through monumental physical and hormonal shifts the world acknowledges and prepares for. But what no one talks about is the transformation in men. Because even though that tiny little being of a human smiles at you like you're the entire universe, in every other part of your being something feels wrong, off, uneasy, like you stepped into a life you recognize but no longer fully belong to. And you can't quite put your finger on why. This isn't a rare experience. It's not even unusual. The numbers reveal a reality most men silently endure. 1 in 4 fathers, not 1 in 10, experience significant psychological distress during the first year. Half report feeling profoundly lonely. Relationship satisfaction drops by 40 to 70%, the steepest fall ever recorded in adulthood. And new parents collectively lose the equivalent of over 40 nights of sleep in 1 year. Add to that the biological shock. Men's testosterone often drops up to 34% after becoming fathers, and you're left with a transformation far deeper than anyone expects men to face without guidance. What you're feeling isn't weakness. It's not incompetence. It's not failure. It's the early tremors of identity collapse. Sociologists call this period the rupture of self-concept. Psychologists call it role shock. But neither term captures the reality of standing in your kitchen at 3:17 a.m., sleep-deprived and half-functioning, holding a child you love so much it scares you, while sensing that the man you've been your entire life is quietly slipping away. Because that's what's happening. You still move through your life wearing your face, your voice, your routines. But internally, something fundamental begins to unravel. You're not just tired, you're disoriented, unmoored, detached from the old rhythms that once grounded you. You feel guilt for missing your old freedom, shame for feeling guilty at all, frustration that flares quicker than it ever has, and confusion about why everything feels heavier than it looks on paper. These aren't random emotions. They're symptoms of transformation. Messy, unfiltered transformation no one warned you about. Biology is stripping and rewiring you at the same time life is redefining you. Lower testosterone doesn't make you weaker. It biologically softens your defenses so you can bond and nurture. Sleep fragmentation doesn't just exhaust you, it destabilizes your emotional regulation. The sudden spike in what psychologists call mortality salience makes everything feel more fragile, more precious, and more terrifying. You become hyper-aware of time in a way you never have before. The urge to protect, the fear of failing, the weight of lineage, all hitting at once. And yet, even through the internal landslide, everyone expects you to be the steady one, calm, rational, in control, the rock. But inside, you're learning something the world refuses to talk about. Fatherhood doesn't start with becoming more. It starts with losing parts of yourself you didn't even know were holding your identity together. Your persona, the mask you built across decades of independence, ambition, and self-navigation starts to crack. Because fatherhood doesn't want the man you pretended to be. It wants the man underneath, the one you've avoided meeting. Your shadow surfaces before your strengths do. The impatience you never examined, the fears you never named, the unresolved parts you outpaced with busyness, the tenderness you buried beneath stoicism. Fatherhood drags all of it into the light because a child doesn't respond to the mask. They respond to your essence. And that's where the uneasiness comes from. That subtle wrongness you can't describe. It's the friction between who you were and who you're being forced to become. The disorientation of standing between two versions of yourself. The familiar one that no longer fits and the future one you haven't met yet. Nietzsche called this state the rope between man and overman. Jung called it symbolic death. Most men call it nothing at all. We just try to survive it. But the truth is simple and brutal. The man you were before fatherhood isn't coming back, and he's not supposed to. Because beneath the exhaustion, beneath the doubt, beneath the disintegration of your old identity, something else is forming. Slowly, quietly, almost imperceptibly. A new center of gravity, a new architecture of meaning. A man shaped not by ego or independence, but by devotion, lineage, and presence. This collapse you're feeling, it's not the end. It's the beginning, the initiation, The dismantling that makes room for a deeper, more honest version of you. And whether you realize it yet or not, you are already stepping into him. There's a point in early fatherhood that hits every man, even if he never admits it. And it's the moment you realize, quietly but unmistakably, that you're no longer the main character in your own life. You go from being the center of your story to orbiting something infinitely more fragile. And even though you love that child with a depth you didn't know you had, something in you feels displaced. Like the spotlight that used to be yours has moved without asking permission. It's not resentment, it's reality. A psychological shift researchers call role displacement. But what it actually feels like is your identity being slowly pushed to the edges of your own life. And this is the part so many men choke on. Your desires don't disappear, they just get delayed. Your ambitions don't die, they get boxed up and carried into a future that suddenly feels less guaranteed. Time shrinks, space shrinks, your margin for self-indulgence shrinks, and the future version of yourself you used to imagine so casually now feels like someone you're running out of time to catch up to. This is where the anxiety comes from, not the diapers, not the crying, not the sleep deprivation. The anxiety comes from feeling the clock suddenly speeding up while you feel yourself slowing down. And that's when the list shows up. Every man has it. No one talks about it. It's not the list of chores, the sink, the light bulb, the stupid drawer that won't close right. If it were just that, you wouldn't feel a single tremor of panic. That's not the list. The real list is the one you don't say out loud. The one you didn't even know existed until the moment you held your child and felt the world tilt. It's the list of everything you thought you'd accomplish before you became a father. The goals you assumed you'd check off in time. The places you wanted to see while it was still just you. The money you wanted to have saved. The career level you thought you'd reach. The stability you believed you'd build. The confidence you expected to feel by now. The insecurities you hoped you'd have outgrown. The habits you thought would disappear with age. The character traits you figured would magically mature someday. It's all the things you assumed you had more time for, until suddenly you didn't. And fatherhood creates this strange psychological illusion that you must fix all of it now. Not eventually, not slowly, now. Because something inside you equates being a father with being fully formed, fully ready, fully locked in, even though no man in history has ever been. Psychologists call this generativity pressure. The instinct to build, secure, provide, and future-proof everything the moment you realize you're responsible for a life that will outlive you. It's primal, it's unconscious, and it triggers a kind of internal alarm. You're not enough yet. You need to evolve quicker. You need to upgrade faster. You should have already been the man you're now required to become. And this pressure intensifies because half the things you want, financial stability, status, success, opportunity, aren't entirely in your control. Yet your mind treats them like obligations. Your nervous system treats them like deadlines. Your ego treats them like measurements of your worth. This mismatch, a giant gap between desire and control, is where the anxiety lives. Self-discrepancy theory explains it perfectly. When your actual self, your ideal self, and your new should self collide, the emotional friction is brutal. You start feeling behind even if you're not. You start feeling inadequate even if you're trying. You start feeling guilty for not being ready even though no one ever truly is. And then something inside you breaks open. It's not dramatic, it's not loud. It's just honest in a way you can't ignore. You start mourning the version of yourself who always had time. The version of yourself who could chase dreams without consequence. The version of yourself who could afford to grow slowly. The version of yourself who didn't have someone watching, and it hurts. Not because that version was better, but because he was free. This grief is real. Fathers feel it everywhere, but almost none of them speak it because it sounds selfish when it isn't. It sounds ungrateful when it's actually a symptom of transformation. It sounds like doubt when it's really the beginning of depth. Because here's the truth no one tells you. The man you were before fatherhood was never built to raise a child. He was built to learn, to wander, to experiment, to stumble, to fail privately. Now you're being asked to evolve in real time, with a life watching you do it. That urgency you feel, the shrinking time, the list, the sense that you must fix your flaws immediately, it's not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that the psychological foundation of fatherhood has begun. Your identity is updating its operating system. Your ego is dissolving. Your priorities are burning down to reveal what matters. Your character is being asked to grow faster than you planned. And the deepest truth? You're not alone. Every father you admire went through this silent reckoning, this private inventory of dreams, flaws, fears, and timelines. Every father had a list. Every father felt the urgency. Every father grieved the old self so the new one could rise. This isn't the panic before failure. This is the pressure before transformation. This is the moment the old main character steps aside and the father begins. Once you start making that internal list, once you feel time collapsing and the pressure solidifying, the real psychological battle begins. Not the collapse of your old life and not the surface level chaos of adjusting to a newborn. The battle I'm talking about happens in the space between who you were and who you're being pushed to become. And it's a space that very few men ever talk about. You start noticing how your reactions feel sharper. Not because you're becoming an angry person, but because your nervous system is stretched thin. Everything that once felt manageable now lands with more weight. The slightest stress hits like a full-body jolt. A minor inconvenience feels personal. A small disagreement feels like a threat. You're not choosing these reactions. Your physiology is choosing them for you. Fathers experience heightened amygdala activation, increased cognitive load, and reduced emotional bandwidth. That means your system is processing more, with less fuel, inside a role you've never held before. Of course you feel on edge. Of course you feel unfamiliar to yourself. And while you're navigating this internal storm, she's navigating her own. Different shape, different intensity, but just as real. Her body is healing. Her hormones are recalibrating. Her instincts are in overdrive. She's dealing with postpartum shifts that biology carved into her without asking. You're dealing with identity shifts that psychology carved into you just as suddenly. Two people changing at the same time, just not in the same way. This is where the friction begins. Not because anything is wrong with the relationship, but because both of you are functioning on what psychologists call depleted cognitive resources. When your brain is overloaded, your emotional skin thins. When her system is overstimulated, her sensitivity rises. Your silence feels to her like distance. Her overwhelm feels to you like criticism. Neither interpretation is true, but both feel real because both of you are exhausted in ways that don't align. Attachment patterns get activated here. Old habits from childhood, old fears, old insecurities. Under stress, most men pull inward, not because they don't care, but because retreat feels like the only way to regulate. Under stress, many women reach outward, not because they need control, but because connection feels like safety. These two instincts, retreat and reach, collide. And suddenly you're misreading each other through the lens of your own survival responses. There's nothing abnormal about this. This is exactly what happens when two identities, two bodies, and two nervous systems undergo a transformation at the same time. You're trying to hold yourself together. She's trying not to fall apart. Both of you are overstretched. Both of you are overwhelmed. Both of you want harmony, but neither of you has the emotional fuel to create it consistently. This isn't incompatibility. This is overload. And in the middle of it, you start doubting yourself. The man you used to be suddenly feels distant. The man you're trying to become feels unreachable. And the man you currently are feels like a placeholder version of yourself. Someone stuck in between, someone not fully functioning, someone who's giving every part of himself to survival and has nothing left for identity. Psychologists call this a liminal identity state, the in-between phase where the old self is gone, but the new one hasn't settled yet. It's disorienting because nothing inside you feels stable. Your old coping mechanisms don't work here. Your old distractions don't fit. Your old emotional shortcuts fail. You're forced to face parts of yourself you've been able to outrun for years. This is where the shadow emerges. The impatience you buried, the insecurity you ignored, the self-doubt you masked with ambition, the emotional habits you never questioned because life never pressured you to. Now they're all here all at once because fatherhood brings everything to the surface, not to judge you, but to show you what needs to be integrated. And the couple dynamic doesn't cause this exposure, it mirrors it. When two people are both stretched to their limits, Your raw edges meet hers. Your flaws meet her fears. Her tears meet your silence. Your tension meets her tenderness. And in that friction, you're both confronted with the truth that the version of yourselves that existed before parenthood simply can't carry the weight of what life is asking now. But here's the part that matters. This friction isn't the end. It's the shaping. It's the forging. It's the psychological equivalent of weight training. Uncomfortable, messy, demanding, but ultimately transformative. Because what you discover in these moments is that fatherhood isn't just changing your circumstances. It's rebuilding your architecture from the inside out. You begin to access parts of yourself you didn't know you had. Patience you never practiced. Emotional depth you never used. Strength that isn't loud or performative but grounded and deliberate. Awareness that cuts through your impulses and exposes the truth beneath your reactions. And slowly, without fanfare, something inside you shifts. Not enough to feel like rebirth yet, that comes later, but enough to feel like you're not drowning in the in-between anymore. Enough to feel like the psychological storm is giving you lessons instead of just noise. Enough to recognize that you're not breaking. You're being stretched into a shape that your old life never required. This phase isn't where you lose yourself. This is where you meet the next version of you. The one fatherhood has been pulling forward from the moment everything changed. What no one tells you, not even in the middle of the collapse or the in-between war, is that fatherhood isn't something you master. It's something you grow into. Slowly, clumsily, imperfectly, almost by accident. There is no finish line. There is no moment where you wake up and feel suddenly, fully formed. Fatherhood isn't a switch, it's a slope. A long, uneven one. And if there's one thing this journey demands from you more than strength, more than certainty, more than readiness, it's patience. Patience with your partner, patience with your child, and first and foremost, patience with yourself. Your identity won't rearrange itself overnight. Psychology calls this gradual self-expansion, the slow process of adjusting your sense of self to include someone else at the center. Your nervous system needs time to unlearn old patterns and build new ones. Your emotional reflexes need time to soften. Your fears need time to quiet. Your strengths need time to emerge. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not failing the test. You are becoming. It responds to repetition, to small acts done consistently, to showing up even on days when you feel hollow, to forgiving yourself when you fall short, because you will fall short. You will snap when you're tired. You will question your direction. You will doubt your capacity. That doesn't make you a bad father. It makes you a human being learning a role that no one on earth has ever entered perfectly. Your child's needs will evolve. Your partner's needs will shift. Your own needs will resurface and disappear and resurface again. And the version of you growing in the middle of all that is not someone you can build in a hurry. There's no psychological model where transformation happens on demand. Real change is incremental. It's what researchers call micro-adaptations, small internal adjustments that eventually become an entirely new way of being. So let yourself evolve at the pace your life is teaching you. Let yourself learn without expecting mastery. Let yourself grow without expecting perfection. Let yourself heal without expecting immediacy. Be gentle with her too. She's not becoming a mother in a straight line. Her mind is learning just like yours. Her instincts are loud, but her confidence is quiet. She's overwhelmed, rewiring, recalibrating. And just like you, she's figuring this out 1 hour at a time. Patience will be the glue that keeps you connected while both of you grow into unfamiliar versions of yourselves. And your child, tiny, fragile, needing you in ways you've never been needed. You don't have to get it right all at once for them. They don't require perfection. They require presence. They require warmth. They require a father who is willing to keep trying, even when he feels lost. Children don't remember the man you were before fatherhood. They remember the man who showed up. Which brings you back to the most important place, your relationship with yourself. You have to give yourself permission to be a beginner. You have to let go of this invisible deadline your mind created. There is no race, no timer, no ranking. You and every father before you learned in the same slow, vulnerable way. Through mistakes, through small wins, through exhaustion, through unexpected moments of clarity where something clicks and you suddenly understand what your child needed or what your partner meant. or what you needed to hear. Your problems won't disappear overnight. They weren't created overnight. The identity you're building won't settle immediately either. It's being formed through thousands of moments, stretched across months and years. And each time you show up with intention, each time you pause instead of reacting, each time you choose understanding over defensiveness, each time you forgive yourself for not knowing what to do, you move closer to the man you're meant to become. Not quickly, but certainly. The pressure you feel doesn't mean you are unprepared. It means you care. The fear you feel doesn't mean you're failing. It means the stakes are finally real. And the confusion you feel doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're still dissolving the pieces of the old identity that no longer fit. So take your time, learn slowly, grow honestly. Let the transformation unfold at the pace of a life being rebuilt, not rushed. Because the truth is, you don't become the father you imagine in a single moment. You become him through 1,000 imperfect ones. And one day, not suddenly but unmistakably, you'll look at your child or your partner, or even just the reflection staring back at you in the quiet of a morning and realize you made it. Fatherhood doesn't demand immediate greatness. It asks for patience, presence, and the willingness to grow into the man you're becoming. Slowly, steadily, truthfully. And you're already doing it.